Hey y'all, what's up? What's going on? Welcome back to my channel. For today, I am going to show you my flawless foundation routine. Yesterday's video, I talked about why I stopped using beauty blenders, Real Techniques sponges, any kind of sponge. So today, I thought it would be cool to show you my foundation routine. Don't think I've ever done one of those before, so let's get into it. The first thing you need is your skin prep. Skin prep is going to be key, so make sure you're using skincare products that are specific for your skin needs. I'm very oily, acne prone skin, texture, so I make sure that I use anything that has a little bit of salicylic acid in it, things that are going to really help to just balance the oiliness in my skin, alright? So y'all know I don't believe in mattifying primers. I don't think that it really does anything for me. Again, I think a lot of that's just gonna basically go so more to your skincare and your skin prep. I'm gonna have a winter skincare video for oily skin coming up as well. So to help kind of just make my skin look smooth, I've been using this for years. This is the L'Oreal Magic Perfecting Base. So I like this because I feel like it fills in my pores. My skin looks super smooth when I use this. I can put this on up under my foundation, on top of it, or also on days when I don't wear makeup, I'll just go ahead and put this on. And as you can see, it doesn't leave any kind of cast on my face. It just gives my skin a nice smooth appearance, which we all love. Of course, if you are dry, make sure you're using a primer or whatever the case may be for your skin needs. Alright, next up for foundation today, we are going to be using the Dior Backstage. This is my cold weather winter foundation, which is really weird because today it's 75 degrees. It's been kind of chilly here in North Carolina, but anywho, this is what we're going to be using today. Let me grab. So I'm going to be using this foundation. This is not a super mattifying foundation, but it is not dewy. This is a satin foundation. It sits right in the middle. I think a lot of different skin types can use this, so we're going to be using this. And y'all know I have been loving the Makeup Forever 108 flat foundation brush. This has been my ride or die for a hot minute now, so I'm just going to take this. My shade is in the shade 5W, and it is the most perfect skin match for me. The only thing I don't like about this Dior foundation is that it comes in this squeezy tube and it just becomes a little bit messy, so be on the lookout for that. Alright, so when I do my foundation, I like to start on one side of my face. So when you're doing foundation, you want to focus it more so in the areas that you need the most coverage. So for me, that's going to be right around here. Sometimes I don't even put too much foundation up here under my eyes because I know I'm going to go in with concealer. So taking the flat brush, and I love this brush because it does not leave me streaky, and it just gives me the most beautiful, seamless looking foundation. I've used this with BB creams, all sorts of different formulations of foundation, some that are thicker, thinner, and it just works so well. So I'm going to start by focusing on the right side of my face here, and I'm just kind of patting it in the areas that I want it. Again, I don't have to go take too much up under my eyes because I am going to put concealer on. Now again, everyone's skin needs are different, so depending on what you have going on, if you have maybe red spots, dark spots, acne, rosacea, whatever you need to cover up, so use a foundation that's going to work for you. You don't have to specifically use a foundation in the products that I'm using. I'm just more so showing you my techniques. And I do like to focus a little bit more around my mouth because sometimes I feel like it does get discoloration there. And also, if you are someone who needs, you know, a little bit more correction, color correct first. I remember when color correcting came out as a trend, and I kind of thought that was funny because I was seeing people color correct who didn't need it. So if you don't need to color correct, don't do that. Let me pull y'all in fast, a little bit closer. There we go, that's good. Now as you can see, it's just a very nice seamless foundation. You can build this up which I do like, but I don't know, I just like the very skin-like appearance that it gives. If you guys are familiar with me, you know that I don't take foundation on the top of my forehead, just simply because the top of my forehead is much more darker than the rest of my face, and it always looks a little bit off. I either end up bronzing or contouring up there, but lately I've been kind of just letting my bangs drop to cover it and no one notices. All right, now we're gonna go on to the other side of my face. Again, starting down under my mouth. And also, of course, using a brush over a sponge, you are going to get a little bit more coverage. I know that's one reason why people don't care for any kind of like beauty sponges or beauty blenders, because yes, it does soak up product. But again, a pro for that is if you are someone who is a little bit heavier handed, then a sponge might be for you. Now I'm going to start working in the center of my face here, so taking it on my nose and blending it up. I always take it over my brows as well. Then I'll get about halfway to my forehead and then I'll stop there. Also, same thing, taking it into the hairline, because I am notorious for not taking enough foundation on the sides of my hairline, and then when I take a photo, I'm like, that looks a little bit off. So you can see how this foundation dries down. It's not super matte, but it's not totally luminous either, and it's not streaky. Good brush. And this brush is easy to maneuver and work with. Alright, so foundation is on. Next up, we are going to go into concealer. Since it is a little bit warmer today, I was going to use my Becca Aqua Luminous, but I chose to go with my Urban Decay All Nigher because I don't care for my foundations to be super full coverage, but my concealers, I like the coverage. Alright, so I'm using my shade Dark Warm, and I am going to just put a little bit in the inner tier because that's where I want the most coverage. This, a little bit, is going to go a long way. So I'm going to take a Real Techniques concealer brush, and I am just going to blend this out. So my technique for this is just more so of a stippling. Don't swipe, because when you swipe, you're gonna lose a lot of the product. So just kind of stipple it up under the eye area. And this brush is very soft. Now I know a lot of people prefer to use, again, a beauty blender for their concealer, which is totally fine, not a problem. So something that I typically do, especially when working with a full coverage concealer like the All Nighter, I am going to use my brush to blend it out first. And then after I've got the most coverage where I want it, which is typically on the inner tear duct up under the eyes, I'll start feathering it out. And instead of going for a beauty blender or a Real Techniques sponge, I'll take just a disposable wedge. I'll take it on the square side, on the flat side here, and then I just go along the edges on the outside to blend that out. I like these because I can throw them away. You know, now if you want to use a beauty blender, that's totally fine. These are just my techniques. This is what I've always done on my clients. I stopped using the beauty blender on my clients a hot minute ago, just simply because I felt like I wasn't getting it clean enough. But this is what I do, and I keep these little cosmetic sponges in my kit, and I keep some on my vanity in my little drawer over there. And I will probably use it maybe 2 days in a row, and then I'll just toss it. Boom, and I have my coverage up under my eyes. A very nice base in your makeup is key. You know what I mean? Like, if you have everything, if your foundation and concealer and everything looks good, no matter what after that, even if you do goof up somewhere else, like with your eyes, it's not gonna matter, because your foundation is the foundation of your makeup. So and this Real Techniques concealer brush is affordable. I think it might have been about $8. And of course, you know, you can go to Ulta. They always have the coupon for $3.50 off, which is a lifesaver because that adds up. And the Urban Decay concealer, if you are dry under eyes, I don't recommend it because it is very matte, but it's not so mattifying that it makes me look patchy. But I do feel like if you are someone that has drier skin or drier under eyes, you won't like it. Okay, it looks like I missed a spot. Then always like take a step back and look at yourself. Like I'm looking at myself in my mirror, my viewfinder up here, and then on my screen on the side. Take a step back and I can kind of see like I have a little bit of a hollow right there. So we're just gonna concentrate in this area. I am not big into contouring. Like I do like a very, very light version of it, but tomorrow's video will be on a simple cream contouring, just simply because there are parties coming up with the holidays, and if I am going to contour, it's going to be more so for a special event. So, you know, holiday party, something like that, wedding, that kind of deal. So that video will be tomorrow, and I know cream contouring can be very, very intimidating, but I just think the way that I do it, it's dummy proof, it's very, very easy, and anyone can do it. So be on the lookout for that tomorrow. Right now I'm just taking the sponge, I'm just going on the outside, and boom. I will take whatever's remainder and just go down the center of my nose. The dark warm isn't too light, so I don't feel like I have to put a lot down the center of my face to balance everything out. But when I use dark golden, which is a little bit lighter, my winter concealer in the All Nighter, I do find that I have to put a little bit more in the center just to balance everything out. Alright, so foundation is on, concealer is on. The next step that I'm going to do here is to set it. So up under my eyes, I'm going to take, this is probably one of my favorite brushes. This is the Real Techniques setting brush. I use this to set up under my eyes, and since it is cooler weather, I'm not going to take a loose powder. I'm going to take a pressed powder. One of my favorites is MAC Mineralize Skin Finish, and I am just going to press this up under my eyes. Loose powders basically, you know, they absorb a lot of oil, and because they are so absorbing up under the eye, sometimes it can be a little drying. Even for me, being oily skin and using, you know, eye cream every night and in the morning, number one rule, no matter how old you are, 2, 22, 32, 82, night cream, morning and night, every morning and night. But I just find that a pressed powder, it just looks better and it doesn't do as much settling as a loose powder does. I'm not into baking now. If you're into baking, do your thing. If I will bake, in fact, I'll show you what I would do. If I were to bake, this is what I would do. I would take some loose powder here, my favorite is Sacha buttercup powder, and I would put it on my little wedge and basically press it on like this. Just more so press it into the skin. But instead of leaving it, I just work it into the skin until it's gone. So that's my way of baking. So we'll say that's not even baking, that's more like preheating the oven, okay? So this is what I would do. And I will just press it onto the skin until it's all gone. And that's gonna give it a little bit more of a va-va-voom here. Then I'll wipe off a little bit. And you can see a difference. Like you can see this looks a little bit more bright. This side doesn't have anything going on. So let me go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Just gonna put the Mineralized Skin Finish on so that way you guys can see if there is a difference between with just the pressed powder and then with the loose powder. So this side is just set with pressed, and then this side has some loose. So let me take a little bit of the loose powder and just work it. And then the next step is going to be just to set the rest of my face. Now again, just depending on your skin type, you might not have to set with any loose powder or pressed powder. Whenever I use my Fenty foundation, I don't have to set it, but because we're using the Dior and it's not 100% matte, I'm just gonna take a very, very light bit of the Sacha Buttercup powder, and we're just going to dust this all over the rest of my face. And again, I think something else that people do when they're setting their face, they will swirl and swirl and swirl around their face, which basically that's going to disturb any kind of foundation that you have on. If you have on any cream contour, when you keep going around and around like that, you're just moving everything around. So what I like to do is I just press it into my skin, and of course this is going to give you a more airbrushed look. This is a stippling technique. I just like to press light, just a little bit, because I don't want too much all over my face. And then we have like a last few little steps here. Next up, I'm just going to take my Morphe Brontour, and this brush is Morphe M530. I love this for bronzing and contouring. I love the shape of the brush, and I love the way that it lays down the product. However, this is not the softest brush in the world, and it sheds, so beware of that. And I'm not doing anything too crazy with this, like not anything too technical. I just want to warm up my face a little bit. And that was just with, you know, one dip in there. Again, we'll do more contouring tomorrow. Then we're gonna throw on some blush. And this is in the shade Mellow Wine. So when it comes to blush, I know a lot of women, especially a lot of women of color, I don't know why we're so afraid of blush. One of my blogging buddies, she had posted on her Twitter. What did Tina post? She posted on her Twitter, she can't figure out why black women are so afraid of blush. And I was like, yeah, me neither. There are a lot of blush options, first of all, so that's not a problem. I think where the problem lies is just in the application. Like, typically blushes are really big, and I felt like whenever I would use a blush brush, sometimes I'd get too much blush on my face. So what I've started doing is taking a highlighter brush, like a smaller brush just for highlighting, and using it for my blush, just simply because I have more strategic placement and I don't have to worry about that blush expanding all over my face. I know, I just feel like I have more control when I use a smaller brush for my blush. So try that out. I can't tell you what brush this is. There's no name on it. It's peeling. It's old. This brush is like at least 5 years old, so I'm sorry, but just find a smaller brush, maybe like a highlighting brush, and try applying your blush that way. How many times did I say brush and blush? And then the last step for the base, I'm going to take my Laura Glow, and I treat this like a highlighter basically, but I hate highlighters. I don't like them because I'm oily, I have texture skin, I have acne, but this just gives the most beautiful, subtle glow. I'm going to put just a little here and then a little here. That is the only place that I like it. I might do a little down the center of my nose, but I don't like that whole tip of the nose thing. That ain't cute. I don't like it. But if that's your gig, you go for it, but it's not mine. And it just gives the most soft glow. It doesn't intensify texture, doesn't make me look oily. This is for sure one of my like favorite purchases of 2018. And boom, that's it. I'm going to throw on some eyeshadow and then I'll be right back. Alright y'all, I'm back. I have the rest of my makeup on. I've got a smoky eye going on right now. This look will be up next week and it'll be a part of our Cool Tone series. So I hope this was helpful to you. Down below, I want to hear your favorite tools for applying your foundation. I want to know your favorite foundations that you like to use. Tell me your skin type, and make sure you leave a few of your tips and tricks if you have any as well, just simply because we are all in this community together, and if I can share something to help someone else, and if you can share something to help someone else, that is awesome. So you guys know the deal. Keep it simple, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.